My parents were the protagonists of a sweet romance novel. I showed up at the end of their story. And in my brother's side story. I basked in my family's affection. Every whim paid for. Living as a joyful little princess. My brother, on the other hand, was always pushed yet undermined by Dad. Clinging to Mom would make Dad jealous, forcing him to give up his hobbies. He was stuck with the script of a straight-A student and a domineering CEO, becoming an excellent heir to the conglomerate. One day, riding on the back of a scooter with a blonde-haired guy, the wind blowing in my face, I suddenly realized that none of this felt right. It felt very wrong. Folks, the full story's done. A notification popped up on my phone. Please enjoy. Melancholy Fry reminds you. The main story begins now. During evening study hall, while my classmates buried themselves in their books, I, with all my extra pounds, struggled to climb over the wall in a corner of the school. Outside the wall, a few spirit boys with blonde and green hair, perched on their scooters, quietly cheered me on. I used all my might to get over the wall, leaning against it, panting heavily, sweat pouring down. They sat on their scooters, laughing at me, saying I needed to lose weight. I felt a little wronged. I was a foodie, always chubby since childhood. My parents, brother, and everyone I knew had never called me fat, let alone told me to lose weight. I used to attend private schools where teachers and students all knew me and my dad. They always praised me, saying my chubbiness was cute. It wasn't until I followed my brother to this public magnet high school that people started telling me I was fat and needed to lose weight. "Alright. Shut up," said a blonde-haired guy who had parked his scooter in front. His name was Chen Kwang, a student from a nearby vocational high school, the same age as me. He was handsomer than the others and had a tough guy vibe, unlike any guy I'd met before. When Chen Kwang spoke, the others quieted down. Chen Kwang's backseat was empty. It was reserved for me. Fu Jiao Jiao. Stop zoning out. Get on. He tossed me a pink helmet. I fumbled, failed to catch it, and the helmet fell to the ground. The spirit boys burst into laughter again. So clumsy, Chen Kwang muttered, annoyed. While I genuinely was clumsy. No one had ever said it to my face or laughed at me before. I felt incredibly wronged. I held the helmet up towards them. "I'm not going," I said. We had only met yesterday, and it was just about playing computer games. My house had a dedicated gaming room, and my dad even developed the games they played. But they gasped, their faces paling. If I didn't go, no one would be generous enough to buy them in-game currency and gear. So, one by one, they got off their scooters to coax me. Chen Kwang looked displeased. He didn't get off. Just said, "Come or don't." "Hey, kid. You've got my attention." Just as the dog-like blonde guy picked up my helmet, I snatched it, put it on, and huffily declared, "I'm going. I just won't buy gear for only you." Then I strode over and sat on the dog-like guy's back seat. As soon as I got on, the scooter tires seemed to flatten a bit. Chen Kwang ignored me and took someone else. We officially set off. This was my first time on a scooter. The evening breeze was slow and comfortable. I let my mind wander. In less than 2 minutes, I thought of my brother, who was probably cramming for tests. The monthly exam was in a couple of days. And my brother would definitely be first again. Ugh. Why was he so smart when we were twins? And I was so dumb. I wasn't always this dumb. I recalled. Chinny had told me that when I was little, I was as smart as my brother. Especially sensitive to numbers and money. My brother, on the other hand, preferred history. But Dad said I was a girl. And I just needed to be a happy little princess. He and my brother could support me for life. And the tough job of inheriting the family business would go to my brother. So, starting from elementary school, every vacation, I traveled the world with Mom. Dad was busy and occasionally joined us. My brother, however, was always left at home for tutoring. Aside from attending various competitions in different countries, he rarely had the chance to go anywhere else. My brother also became less and less jovial. But I remembered him smiling a lot when he was little. Years of carefree living and my parents' hands-off education resulted in my terrible grades. Besides fluent English from frequent international travel, I knew nothing else. My parents weren't worried at all. Their plan for me was to study art, attend an international high school, then go directly to the UK or US for college, get a degree, and come back to hold art exhibitions. With my dad's connections, people would be lining up to buy my paintings. My brother, on the other hand, was on the academic track. He had to be the top scorer in the college entrance exam, attend a top university in the country for his bachelor's degree, then study abroad, and finally return to work in the conglomerate after graduation. But I had no interest in art and absolutely no talent. In junior high, a casual painting of a red apple somehow sold for tens of thousands of dollars. It was incredibly fake. So, I insisted on following my brother to his high school. My brother got in with the top score in the city, just making the cut for a regular high school. I, on the other hand, got a guest student spot because my dad donated a new teaching building. My brother and I weren't in the same class. A month into the school year, my brother was still studying hard, and I was still slacking off. I never thought anything was wrong before. But tonight, with the wind blowing and looking at the blonde guy's head, a question suddenly popped into my mind. Why did my parents assume my brother should study hard and inherit the conglomerate, while I was only allowed to squander money and live a useless life? As soon as this question arose, I felt something around me collapse. Fu jiao jiao. Fu jiao jiao. We're here. You're zoning out again. The dog-like guy's hand waved in front of my eyes for a long time before I snapped back. The internet cafe was in a messy, crowded alley. Many young people came and went, and the air was filled with an inescapable smell of smoke. The ground was covered in all sorts of trash. I hated this environment. How did I suddenly end up here yesterday? How did I walk into this alley and into that internet cafe? I remembered the internet cafe inside was also dirty, crowded, and noisy. I recoiled. So, I got off the scooter, pulled out a few dollar bills from my pocket, and handed them to the dog-like guy. Treat yourselves to some barbecue. I'm not going anymore. And I won't be coming again. You don't need to pick me up from school anymore. Everyone but Chen Kuang was stunned. The dog-like guy scratched his head, his eyes a little flustered. Is it because we laughed at you at first? We're sorry. We didn't mean to mock you. We just got used to it. We didn't mean any harm. No. I said. We shouldn't be here at our age. You guys go eat barbecue. Don't come here anymore in the future. You should study hard. Goodbye. I shoved the money into the dog-like guy's hand and stood by the road, flagging down a taxi. I told him to take me to school. The driver looked at me strangely. You're a student from No. 1 high school? I pointed to the school emblem on my gray and green summer uniform and nodded. The driver started the car. Reforming? Huh? Were those your old friends? No. I only met them yesterday. I replied. Girl. Don't come around here anymore. The driver said. It's a rough area. Your parents paid a lot of money to send you to No. 1 high school. The guest student fee isn't cheap. Studying hard is how you repay your parents. I thought of that question again. Yes. I should be studying hard at my age. I inadvertently glanced in the rearview mirror and saw that the dog-like guy and his friends had gone into the alley. Only Chen Kuang was still standing there. He was watching me. I couldn't understand Chen Kuang's gaze. The car drove further and further. And he disappeared from my sight. The driver dropped me off at the wall I had climbed over. After paying the fare, I grunted and climbed back over. For some reason, it felt much easier to climb in than to climb out. The first evening study hall hadn't ended yet, so I didn't want to just walk into the classroom. Instead, I snuck into the girls' restroom on the same floor and stayed there until the bell rang for the end of class 5 minutes later. Girls started coming in, and I pushed open the door, pretending I had just finished using the restroom. I washed my hands before heading back to class. I was in class 12 of the 10th grade. There were 10 other guest students like me in this class. At No. 1 high school, teachers valued grades. No matter how rich you were. If your grades were bad, most teachers generally wouldn't pay much attention to you. The desks were arranged in 4 groups. My grades were at the bottom, so I sat at the last desk in the 3rd group. Before school started, Mom had come to school and tried to get close to my homeroom teacher, Ms. Rao. As women, Mom showered her with gifts from various luxury brands, handbags, skincare products, makeup. Ms. Rao was unmoved and returned all the gifts. Ms. Rao said that in her class, only students who were excellent academically or actively striving to improve would get good seats. Mom was at a loss and considered changing my class. Dad didn't care. He didn't expect me to study hard, just to be happy at school. The seating didn't matter. Mom always listened to Dad. And after he coaxed her a bit, she happily put the matter out of her mind. The old me wouldn't have cared. But now I wanted to study hard. I wasn't short, standing at 5 feet 4 inches. Although I didn't need glasses, it was still difficult to see the blackboard with so many people in front of me. I secretly resolved to improve my grades and aim for a seat closer to the front. Fu Jiao Jiao. Where were you last period? Did you skip class again like yesterday? My deskmate, Xing Siyu, asked. She was also a guest student. I heard she didn't get into No. 1 high school because she didn't perform well on the junior high entrance exam. So she came here as a guest student, unwilling to give up. But in the placement exam at the beginning of the semester, she also didn't do well, which is why she ended up in this class and became my deskmate. Yeah. But I won't anymore. I nodded. rummaging through my drawer for a while before finding my math textbook. Algebra I. It was brand new. Without even a crease. Jingxiyu looked at me as if she'd seen a ghost. What are you doing? You're not actually going to study. Are you? Yeah. I replied. Opening to the first page. What are elements and sets? My head already started to ache. Jingxiyu burst out laughing. Fu jiao jiao. What's with that expression? Are you crazy? Since mastering addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, I had basically never paid attention in math class. I recognized every word. But combined, I couldn't understand them. I looked at Jingxiyu, sincerely asking, "Can you teach me?" Jingxiyu picked up her math workbook. Sis, I haven't even finished my homework for tonight. It's due after the second evening study hall. Homework? What homework? I hadn't done any homework since school started. After all, every teacher either required you to submit your own work or nothing at all. They wouldn't accept copied homework. I was an honest good kid, so I chose not to submit anything. Jingxiyu pointed to the blackboard. I stretched my neck to look at the blackboard. Each class representative wrote down when and what homework was due in a corner of the blackboard. Oh boy. English, math, science, physics, chemistry, biology, geography. It looked like I wouldn't be submitting any homework again today. I couldn't do it at all. And I wouldn't be able to finish it even if I tried. I silently continued to read my book. Jingxiyu said, "Aren't you Fu Yunjian's sister? If you want to study hard, why don't you ask your brother when you get home after evening study hall?" No. One high school had both boarding and day students. The vast majority of students boarded, as high school schedules were very tight. Morning study hall started at 6:30 a.m. and evening study hall ended at 9:45 p.m. Unless you lived at school or nearby. Commuting back and forth wasted too much time. The regular family villa was too far from school. And my parents weren't satisfied with the school's dorm environment. So, they simply bought a 4-bedroom apartment directly across from the school. Just a 10-minute walk away at most. Mom, my brother, and I usually lived there. Dad would also stay there when he had time. Every night after evening study hall, my brother would come to my classroom to pick me up and walk home together. Over time, everyone knew I was the chubby twin sister of the handsome, top student brother. Thinking of my brother, who had to burn the midnight oil until 12 a.m. every night, I felt bad disturbing him. I said, "Forget it. My brother has his own things to do. I'll just ask Mom to hire a tutor for me." Jingxiyu said, "Okay. Then you read by yourself first. I'll finish my homework. If you don't understand anything, write it on scratch paper and ask me. Although I'm also a slacker, I can still teach you this." She seemed unsure how to describe me. Then pinched my face. "Don't worry. Since you want to study hard, I'll definitely do my best to help you." I flashed a wide smile. Jingxiyu. Thank you. Jingxiyu's eyes softened for a moment. Oh my god. Fu jiao jiao. You're too cute. Your face is so soft. And your skin is so good. With that, she started kneading my face again. Luckily, the bell for class rang. Or I feared my face would be mashed. It turns out that without a good foundation, learning is truly difficult. I hadn't even read a few pages before I wanted to give up. Maybe I should just be a happy little princess, as Dad said. Anyway, I didn't have any dreams. Studying was too hard. But the old me was so dumb. So useless. I stared blankly at the book for a while until a blue supplementary textbook was pushed in front of me. On it was a sticky note with Jing Siyu's handwriting. If you don't understand the textbook, you can combine it with the explanations in this book. There are also many classic examples. Fu Jiao Jiao. You can do it. I looked at Jing Siyu. She smiled at me. At that moment, she was glowing. I instantly cleared my head. How could I give up because of such a small setback? How could I willingly be a useless person supported by my dad and brother? I should have my own thoughts. My own life. I cheered myself on again. Opened the supplementary textbook. And continued to study diligently. In less than 10 minutes, I wrote a few words on a sticky note for Jing Siyu. I don't have scratch paper. Can I borrow a sheet? Jing Siyu stifled a laugh and silently pulled out a stack of scratch paper from her drawer, handing it to me. It's yours, was written on the top sheet. Math problems can't be solved with just one sheet of scratch paper. I thought Jing Siyu was overthinking it. I had only just gotten to the basic operations of sets. Ugh. It's so hard. Jiao Jiao. Before I knew it, the third evening study hall ended too. My brother called my name from the back door. I snapped out of my sea of problems, turned, and saw his surprised face. I quickly packed my stationery and books into my backpack and ran towards him. Brother. You're here. Let's go. My brother's gaze fell on my backpack. Were you doing problems just now? I nodded. Yes. Brother. I've decided. I can't keep drifting aimlessly. I want to study hard. My brother raised his hand and touched my forehead. Are you running a fever? Okay. I admit my change is a bit drastic, I said. I looked at my brother seriously. Maybe you don't believe me now, but I will prove it to you. I really want to study hard. My brother suddenly smiled. He affectionately ruffled my hair. Okay. I believe you. If you don't understand anything, ask me anytime. Now it was my turn to be surprised. In my memory, my brother hadn't smiled in a long time. But he was still so gentle with me. On the way home, I told my brother a lot about my plans. My childhood dream was to earn a lot of money. Just like my dad. That was still my goal. So, I needed to study hard, get into a good university, and major in finance to make big money. My brother was very happy when he heard my words. Jiao Jiao. It's good that you have a goal. Chatting and laughing. We were already home. Mom was watching TV in the living room. Hearing the noise, she immediately went to the entrance to greet us. My darlings. Welcome home. You worked hard at school. Mom gave my brother and me big hugs. She saw me wearing my backpack and covered her mouth in surprise. Jiao Jiao. You actually carried your backpack home, I said. Mom. Starting today, I want to be a top student like brother too. Mom looked at my brother. Her expression as if asking if I had lost my mind. My brother explained for me. Mom. Jiao Jiao is serious. But didn't you skip class yesterday to go to an internet cafe? Mom asked. And your homeroom teacher said you weren't in the first evening study hall today. Jiao Jiao. Did something happen to you? Studying is so hard. Dad and I don't expect you to take over the conglomerate. You just need to know how to spend money and be happy. I thought Mom's idea was problematic. So I said seriously. Mom. I remember you and Dad both went to Q University. I heard Dad say you were also an excellent student and even started a studio with your classmates. Since you, Dad, and brother are all top students and can pursue your own careers, there's no reason for me to be a useless person who only knows how to spend money. I want to have my own pursuits too. Mom froze. Then burst into tears. She hugged me. Snot and tears flowing. That's wonderful. My Jiao Jiao has finally grown up. Then she kissed me with a loud smack. Before I could even react, Mom grabbed her phone and went into her room to call Dad, who was still working overtime at the company. It turned out Mom had always hoped I would have dreams and be ambitious. My brother shook his head and walked towards his room. I thought of something and chased after him. Brother. Look. Now I have a goal too. You should also bravely pursue your dreams. My brother's back stiffened. I knew my brother didn't want to inherit the family business. Actually, he should be my younger brother. Chinny told me I was born 5 minutes before my brother. But my parents decided he was born first so I could have an older brother to take care of me, making me the one who was looked after. What was sacrificed along with that was my brother's hobby. My brother loved history and wanted to be an archaeologist. When we were little, I often saw him reading history and geography books and watching documentaries. He would also tell me many historical stories, though I'd usually fall asleep listening and wouldn't remember anything. Dad thought history was fine as a hobby. He made my brother read financial magazines and watch financial shows, forcing him into all sorts of physics and math competition classes, intending to mold him into the perfect heir to the conglomerate. My brother resisted. In his second year of junior high, I accidentally overheard my brother and Dad arguing in the study. My brother said he hated studying physics and chemistry, hated finance and economics. Dad said my brother was the heir to the conglomerate and had to learn these things. My brother questioned Dad. Why can I not study and run wild all over the world? Dad said. Because you're my little sister. A girl. Girls just need to be happy. Your brother is an older brother. A man. And he has to bear the responsibility of protecting and taking care of you. I truly hadn't thought anything was wrong with this before. Everyone around me thought it was normal. Some uncles and aunts I knew would say they envied my parents for having a daughter. But they almost always chose not to have more children after having a boy. Their reason was that they couldn't bear for the aunts to suffer. Even if they only had daughters, they would still want another son. Few people were willing to train their daughters to take over the family business. In their eyes, daughters should be pampered like princesses, not having to do anything. Parents, brothers, and husbands would offer them everything. They weren't necessarily biased towards sons. Like my parents. They truly loved me. But they seemed to have a program set in their minds, believing girls should be raised that way. Now, I wanted to break that program. My brother turned around. He said, Jiao Jiao. You can't just talk. You need to act first and show results. I nodded firmly. Brother. Don't worry. I won't disappoint you. From that night on, I dedicated myself to studying. My parents supported my decision. They hired the best tutors for me. My half day off every week was spent with my tutors. Of course, I didn't do well on the first monthly exam. After all, I had only truly started studying 2 days prior. But thankfully, I finally didn't have to guess on the first two multiple-choice math questions anymore. I had been messing around for over 10 years. And my foundation in every subject except English was terrible. Oh no. I had no foundation at all. For the first half of the semester, my study progress was as slow as a snail. My grades were no longer at the very bottom, but they remained in the lower ranks, relying entirely on English to save me. After all, others were studying at a high school level, while I was still trying to catch up on junior high material. The midterm exams ended, and subject selection and class reorganization began. I said I wanted to study all science subjects. My parents waved their hands in agreement. My brother said he wanted to study all humanities. Dad was furious. Mom called me while I was scratching my head, trying to solve a calculus problem. It was Grandma's birthday today, and the whole family was gathering at the old family estate. After dinner, I grabbed my backpack and had the driver take me to my tutoring session. The whole family was thrilled to see me so hardworking and ambitious. Mom, on the phone, said with a choked voice, "Jiao Jiao, come back quickly. Your brother insists on taking humanities. And your grandfather and dad are going to beat him to death." Oh boy. So, they agreed to let me pursue my dreams. But they still hadn't forgotten to stifle my brother's dreams, trying to force him into becoming the third ruthless CEO. I apologized to my tutor and explained the situation. I immediately rushed downstairs, hailed a taxi, and sped to the old estate. When I arrived, my brother was kneeling in the living room. Grandpa and Grandma were sitting on the sofa. Dad held a stick, his face like iron. Mom, tear-streaked, clutched Dad's arm. Dad was trying to hit my brother while also comforting my crying mom. Grandpa and Grandma sighed, lamenting the family's misfortune. The scene was actually a bit comical. I took a deep breath, slid onto the smooth marble floor, and shouted, "You're patriarchal. You're biased." My outburst was so loud that everyone's attention instantly focused on me. Dad panicked immediately, only explaining that he wasn't patriarchal. Grandpa and Grandma also came over to pull me and comfort me. I cried, snot and tears flowing. "If you're not patriarchal, why do you only give the company to brother and not to me?" At this, the entire room fell silent. Even my brother looked at me in shock. "Jiao Jiao, you want the company?" Dad's eyes widened like saucers. I nodded tearfully. "Dad, Mom, Grandpa, Grandma, I've found my goal. I want to make money. I want to expand the Fu family's business empire. But what about you? On the surface, you say you support me. But in your hearts, you're still biased towards brother. Otherwise, why do you insist that brother inherit the conglomerate?" Grandpa said, "No. Little girl. You never said you wanted to inherit the conglomerate." "Yeah." Grandma held my hand. "Jiao Jiao. Being the chairman of a conglomerate isn't easy. Look at your dad. His wrinkles are much more than mine and your mom's combined. He's constantly socializing. And his health isn't good. He has stomach problems. Girls should just live an easier life. Don't you think?" I don't care. I just want to inherit the conglomerate. I started twisting myself into a pretzel. I will prove that I'm stronger than brother. Throwing tantrums and being unreasonable were my most familiar skills. With my ruckus, they finally let my brother off the hook. They agreed to let my brother study humanities. But I also had to prove to them with my grades that I had the ability to inherit the conglomerate. That night, my brother asked me why I suddenly wanted to inherit the conglomerate. And if it was for him. I openly admitted that I didn't have a very specific goal. But my brother did. So, I was willing to be the heir and let my brother pursue his dreams. My brother felt I was sacrificing too much for him. Not at all. I said. It's all money. My brother got his wish and studied humanities. Still holding on to the top spot. I entered a regular science class. Coincidentally, Jingxiyu was in the same class as me. I studied desperately every day. No longer going shopping or traveling with my old friends. No longer attending various gatherings. Since I chose the path of college entrance exams, the path of ordinary people, I had to put in 100% effort. Most students in school were also studying desperately. For the entire first year of high school, I struggled to break into the middle to upper ranks. But I was luckier than them because my family background allowed me to access the best educational resources. During winter and summer breaks, my brother would also make time to tutor me. Mom brought me fruit and milk every night and also helped me with my questions. In the first semester of senior year, my grades finally stabilized in the middle of my grade. In the final exam of the second semester of senior year, I finally squeezed into the top 200 of my grade. Although I was exactly 200th, I used to be outside the top 1,000. Jingxiyu also improved. She ranked 223rd. We hugged each other excitedly in front of the announcement board. Jingxiyu's eyes sparkled. Fu Jiao Jiao. Your grades are so much better than mine now. From now on, you'll teach me. I readily agreed. After our afternoon classes, summer break officially began. Even though it was only a week long. To celebrate our progress, I decided to treat Jingxiyu to a big meal. Goodness knows I hadn't eaten out much in over a year because of studying. This Western restaurant was owned by one of Dad's good friends and was also where my parents had their first date. It used to be my favorite restaurant. The restaurant was located in a landmark skyscraper in Jiangqing, offering panoramic views of the riverside at night. As we reached the building downstairs, Jingxiyu grabbed my arm. Fu Jiao Jiao. Are you sure we're eating here? Yeah. Why? I asked. Jingxiyu secretly whispered in my ear. Are you kidding me? The restaurants here are all super expensive. Untreating. I replied. Jingxiyu looked at me with a bewildered expression. As if I were mentally challenged. You're treating? What kind of financial muscle do you have to treat someone here? Come on. Let's go eat hot pot instead and get a bubble tea. That'd be awesome. Jingxiyu didn't seem to know my family was very wealthy. I stopped Jingxiyu. Calmly pulled out a black card. And stated. Sis has the financial power for this. Jingxiyu looked petrified as I dragged her inside. It wasn't until we were sitting by the floor-to-ceiling window that Jingxiyu snapped out of it. Muttering to herself about how undeserving she was to be in such a place. When she picked up the tablet to order and saw the prices, she looked as if she was in agonizing pain. Hesitant to order. So, I just ordered the dishes I used to eat. As soon as the waiter left, Jingxiyu asked me, Who exactly are you? How are you so rich? I had to briefly explain my family background. Fu Corporation? Jing Siyu's eyes widened. You mean that handsome older guy? Fu Wenjing. The CEO of the Fu Corporation? I nodded. He's my dad. Oh my goodness. Jing Siyu covered her mouth in shock. The conglomerate's heiress is my friend? I couldn't help but laugh. Yeah. Yeah. During dinner, Jing Siyu asked me 800 questions. Such as, is this crazy college entrance exam really worth such effort for a young lady like you? Why didn't you just go abroad and have fun? Are your dad and mom really like those domineering CEO meets Cinderella stories? And so on. I answered them one by one. For example, I wanted to strive hard, not be a parasite, and have no regrets. Although my maternal grandparents' family was just an ordinary teacher's family, my mom was also very accomplished. My mom was a top student at Q University and met my dad through a debate competition. They went from rivals to lovers. In her junior year, Mom and her classmates started a fashion design studio. After graduation, she was hired by Dad to work at the conglomerate's apparel company, becoming a designer. Mom and her team's designs once sold incredibly well, and she helped Dad turn around a heavily losing company and gradually expand it. The two also found their happy ending. Later, when Mom was pregnant with my brother and me, and Dad officially took over the conglomerate, Mom resigned to become a devoted wife and mother at home. Jing Siyu sighed after listening. What a shame. Auntie was so capable when she was young. And now she's just a supportive wife at home. It's such a waste. Is it a shame? I wondered. I also felt that Mom was clearly so capable. I had seen many of Mom's design sketches. The clothes in them were absolutely on par with the haute couture I'd seen on runways. But Mom gave up her hobbies and career for Dad. For my brother and me. Even though she looked happy every day, I still felt a sense of pity for her. Jing Siyu quickly stopped dwelling on Mom's story and instead lamented how hard-working I was despite my family being so wealthy, and that she should work even harder. She said her family considered her very obedient and well-behaved. Her grades had always been pretty good since she was little, even failing to get into No. 1 high school was attributed by her parents to her not performing well. That's why they insisted on spending tens of thousands of dollars to send her to No. 1 high school as a guest student, while also paying tuition for her original high school. Only I knew that her grades weren't good enough for No. 1 high school in the first place. She wasn't as hardworking as they thought. She just didn't like going out much or socializing. They saw her studying late into the night. But she also secretly played on her phone. They saw her good grades in junior high. But she often crammed at the last minute and sometimes even cheated. Jing Siyu, drinking her beverage, got teary-eyed. It's so expensive to study at No. 1 high school. My parents are just ordinary factory workers. I didn't want to come, but they insisted. They think I just had an off day. They think I'm excellent. They put all their hopes on me. I don't want to disappoint them. But everyone at No. 1 high school is so amazing. No matter how hard I study, I can't catch up. I'm so afraid of wasting their hard-earned money. Jiao Jiao. You don't know. The pressure is really getting to me. I often suffer from insomnia. And when I finally fall asleep, Zhongqing snores. I've lost so much hair. I figured she was drinking a non-alcoholic beverage. The waiter wouldn't put alcohol in it. Oh. Jingxiyu really saw me as her best friend. I sat next to Jingxiyu and quietly hugged her. Siyu. You've already done so well. Look how much you've improved. We still have to work hard together for the next year. We'll definitely have a bright future. After dinner, we walked along the river, chatting about many things. I felt we had grown closer. During the summer vacation, my parents were staying at the villa. I took a taxi there too. Strangely, there were no lights on inside the house. I opened the door, puzzled. Instantly, the lights came on, and streamers sprayed all over me. Congratulations! The banner in the living room proclaimed. Surrounded by streamers and balloons. It read, "Congratulations to Fu Jiaojiao for ranking 200th in her grade." My parents and brother were all there. Mom was the first to give me a big hug. "My dearest daughter. You're amazing. Mom is so proud of you." The celebration was so grand. I felt a little embarrassed. Dad and my brother also congratulated me and gave me gifts. Seeing the pride and joy in their eyes, I almost cried. See? My efforts really paid off. The senior year was a living hell. There were endless tests and practice problems. Small quizzes every week. And major exams every month. The students ahead of me were all incredibly hardworking. My grades climbed slowly. But thankfully, I kept pushing myself. Due to immense pressure. I, who already loved sweets, ate even more aggressively. My weight didn't decrease. It increased. My brother and mom could only take me for morning runs during our very few breaks to get some exercise. Grandpa and Grandma felt very sorry for me. But Dad said that my current drive reminded him of himself and Mom when they were younger. He thought I was doing great. Especially since most of his business partners' children were out having fun and partying. My brother and I being so excellent made him feel especially proud. The days leading up to the exams were both long and short. The countdown on the blackboard dwindled day by day. Finally, we welcomed the college entrance examination. My testing site was at my own school, while my brother's was at another school. Dad drove me, and Mom drove my brother. On the way to school, Dad didn't even dare to speak to me. The formidable vice president of the conglomerate was afraid to say the wrong thing and increase my pressure. It wasn't until I was about to enter the school gate that Dad suddenly shouted, "Jiao Jiao. Good luck." This shout from the handsome, middle-aged CEO attracted quite a few gazes. I turned around and gave Dad a heart gesture. Dad instantly relaxed and smiled radiantly. "Fu Jiao Jiao. Your dad is so handsome." A classmate who recognized me exclaimed, "Oh my God. Is this the charm of a handsome older man?" "Ah. Isn't he? Jiao Jiao. Your dad is actually the CEO of Fu Corporation." Students around me started pulling me into discussions. Having such a wealthy and handsome dad was quite a hassle. Really. Over the 3 days of exams, my parents took turns picking us up and dropping us off. On the last day, even Grandpa and Grandma came. No one in the family asked my brother or me how we felt about the exams. My brother and I also tacitly avoided asking each other. After the exams, I suddenly felt relaxed. Jingxiyu went to get her driver's license and work a summer job. My brother and I, on the other hand, were taken abroad by our parents for half a month. After returning, I started working out and losing weight. and got my driver's license with my brother. The day college entrance exam results were released, Grandpa and Grandma both came to our house. I knew they weren't worried about my brother at all. They were only worried about me. After all, my brother was consistently first, practically a guaranteed top student in the state. As for me, my homeroom teacher and a bunch of specialists hired by Dad all predicted I should be able to get into a decent university in the top 200. Of course, they didn't tell me about others' analyses. I wasn't nervous at all. I had already given it my all. So, while they were nervously checking their watches, I was watching a drama, crying my eyes out. At 12:01 a.m., the website crashed. My brother and I tried several times but couldn't get in. So we both went back to our rooms to sleep. We left the 4 elders holding our exam admission tickets. Still trying. The next day, I was woken up by the phone ringing. I squinted and saw it was only 6 a.m. Jing Siyu's loud voice came through the phone. Jiao Jiao. Did you check your score? How much did you get? You didn't reply to my messages all night. I haven't checked yet. I mumbled. I couldn't log in yesterday, so I just went to sleep. You're so calm. Young lady, she exclaimed. Check it now. I slowly opened the score-checking website. The moment I was about to check, I suddenly felt nervous. Prompted by Jing Siyu, I found my score, 633. I jumped up and down. Ah! It's completely beyond my expectations. How much? How much? She pressed. 633. There was silence on the other end for 2 seconds, followed by a sharp shriek. Ah! Fu Jiao Jiao. You've made it big. Of course. I also asked Jing Siyu how she did. She said her ancestors' graves must have exploded. She scored 620. Which was great. Our efforts had all paid off. For the next 2 months, our family's routine involved constantly changing outfits and going out to shop. Oh. How did you know Jiao Jiao scored 633? And that Yunjian was the top student in the province? Mr. Fu. This document needs your signature. How did you know my daughter scored 633? Grandpa Fu. You're playing chess again? Oh. How did you know my grandson was the top student in the province? And my granddaughter scored 633? Madam Fu. This scarf suits you very well. It suits my granddaughter who scored 633 very well. As the top student in the province, my brother was being heavily recruited by the top 2 universities. Dad hoped my brother would apply to Q University, since both he and Mom had graduated from there. But my brother had already chosen to study archaeology at B University, which worried Grandpa for a while. My brother said, with Jiao Jiao's score, she can definitely get into a good finance university. Dad. Grandpa. You can confidently hand over the conglomerate to Jiao Jiao in the future. I also patted my chest and guaranteed, I will definitely take the conglomerate to the next level. Let brother go dig up graves. My brother glared at me for the first time in his life. In the end, my brother went to B University. Later, he successfully pursued his master's and Ph.D., traveling all over the country, excavating everywhere. He even found me a sister-in-law, Tao Wan, who could write scripts for murder mystery games and restore pottery. My sister-in-law was a girl who came from the mountains. Her parents were extremely patriarchal. In order to pursue her passion for archaeology and artifact restoration, and also to pay for living expenses and tuition, she started writing scripts for murder mystery games and escape rooms in college. She also partnered with a classmate to open a store. When she met my brother, my sister-in-law was working with her mentor restoring excavated pottery. My brother was one of the people delivering the pottery. My brother said it was love at first sight for him. My sister-in-law is so beautiful and gentle. He must have just been smitten with her looks. Jingxiyu got into a very good normal university in our city. After graduating, she worked at a private middle school and diligently studied for the public teacher's exam. She passed on her second attempt and became a certified middle school English teacher. This was the best and most stable career in her parents' eyes. As for me, I entered the local University of Finance and Law to study finance. I actively participated in various competitions and projects. During Jingxiyu's university years, she loved playing English games and often complained to me about how annoying it was that those games always made her go after the male leads. Shouldn't the male characters be chasing after her? She'd grumble. While complaining, she'd spend the money she earned from part-time jobs on in-game purchases. And that's when I spotted a business opportunity. Although I didn't play games and didn't understand these things, Fu Corporation had a gaming company, Starry Sky, and they often acquired newly emerging game studios. Why don't I plan and develop a game where male characters gradually flatter and pursue female players? With this idea, I immediately explained it to Dad and organized a team to write a proposal. After countless surveys and revisions, our team's proposal was approved in a meeting. In my junior year, this project officially began. I had originally planned to study abroad, but because of this project, I postponed my plans. After 3 years of development, the game successfully launched and was very well received. With the game's success, I was smoothly admitted to a top university in the UK. Because British food was so terrible, I had to learn to cook and desperately finish my studies to return to the US. I ended up on the path my family had originally planned for my brother, becoming president of Starry Sky. To my surprise, the first game studio I was to acquire after taking office was founded by Chen Kuang. The partners of his studio were mostly the same teenagers who used to play games in internet cafes together back then. Later, at a celebratory dinner, the dog-like guy told me that after I left that night, telling them to study hard, Chen Kuang changed completely. He genuinely started to dedicate himself to computer science. After graduating from vocational high school, Chen Kuang worked odd jobs to earn money while studying and starting a business. Finally, in these past 3 years, he successfully established his studio. Their first small game was very popular among users, marking a turning point after their struggles. In the conference room, Chen Kuang looked at me strangely, probably recognizing me. The others clearly didn't recognize me. Only the dog-like guy stared at my business card, scratching his head. MS. Fu. Your name is also Fu Jiaojiao? I smiled. Not also. I am that Fu Jiaojiao. The conference room instantly fell silent. It wasn't surprising they didn't recognize me. After all, I had lost weight and kept fit over the years. Plus I had matured, so my whole appearance had changed significantly. Moreover, we had only met twice. If I hadn't spent a fortune on in-game currency and skins for them back then, they probably wouldn't even remember who Fu Jiaojiao was. The dog-like guy was dumbfounded. You. You were the young lady of the Fu Corporation? No wonder you were so rich. Your transformation is incredible, I said with a smile. I should thank you. If I hadn't been riding on your back seat with the wind blowing that night, I wouldn't have understood some things. And I wouldn't be who I am today. Then I looked at Chen Kuang. I'm very optimistic about your game and your studio's future development. Partner with me. And I guarantee you'll have the most freedom and the strongest financial backing to do what you want to do. Chen Kuang slightly curled his lips. The youthful sharpness had faded, replaced by a more mature and steady demeanor. All right. Ms. Fu. It's a pleasure to work with you. Epilogue. On my 33rd birthday, I had a strange dream. In the dream, my parents were the male and female leads of a sweet romance novel. And I was just a supporting character appearing in the ending and my brother's side story. Growing up pampered, I was naive and willful. In high school, I refused to study, spending my days skipping class, haunting internet cafes, and playing games with Chen Kuang and his friends. Chen Kuang was a rebellious youth, and quite handsome, and I was completely captivated by him. Following him, I learned to smoke, drink, and fight. Chen Kuang also really liked me, making his gang call me sister-in-law. He would take me on his scooter at night, weaving through the city streets and alleys, buying me snacks I'd never tried before. My brother quickly noticed my unusual behavior and told our parents. Dad was furious. He believed I was being led astray by Chen Kuang, this delinquent, and forbade me from seeing him again. Soon after, he completed the paperwork and sent me abroad. But I deeply loved Chen Kuang, and separating us felt like tearing out my heart. I resorted to hunger strikes, self-harm, and even attempted suicide. Dad was forced to threaten Chen Kuang's future and family to control me. Chen Kuang also had no choice but to break up with me. And soon after, he started dating another girl. Heartbroken, I went to the UK, spending my days eating, drinking, and being merry with a bunch of rich kids. Living a life of debauchery. I never attended classes, and I found people to take my exams for me. Even my college diploma was bought by Dad through a donation. After returning to the US, I couldn't shake off my overseas habits, frequenting various entertainment venues and even becoming a sugar mama to male idols and actors. My parents and brother were at their wits' end. Their demands kept lowering, only asking that I not break the law. Later, I met a man named Zhou Hui, who somewhat resembled Chen Kuang. He was a low-level employee at a company who unexpectedly saved me from being robbed in an underground parking garage. I actually fell for him. His playing hard to get made me fall hopelessly in love, insisting on marrying him. My parents and brother investigated him thoroughly, discovering he was an orphan who grew up in an orphanage. But I only loved him more. My stubbornness, combined with Zhou Hui's perfect disguise, led to our smooth marriage. Zhou Hui became the live-in son-in-law of the Fu family. Despite his mediocre abilities, he was promoted to department manager. Unfortunately, he was a complete maniac, using me, this love-struck fool, to climb the ladder. He even cheated on me while I was pregnant, and my brother caught him red-handed. He knelt and begged for my forgiveness, apologizing profusely, regretting everything. And I, this hopeless romantic, actually forgave him. Oh my God! The God me felt a pain in my heart from anger. My parents, of course, didn't agree to our reconciliation. They insisted we divorce. But I refused. I simply ran away with Zhou Hui. Heavily pregnant. This infuriated my dad. Even though I ran away, my dad didn't stop my credit card. Zhou Hui said he would go out and find a job. That he wanted to give me the best life. I believed him. But he used my money to keep finding other women. Damn it. Even on the day I went into labor, he was out in a hotel with another woman. I couldn't reach him. And my water broke. I could only endure the intense pain and call an ambulance myself. Crying as I called Mom. My parents and brother rushed to find me by helicopter that very night. My child was already born when Dad's men finally dragged Zhou Hui out of the hotel. This time, I finally came to my senses. I divorced Zhou Hui. He left with nothing. Through Dad's maneuvers, he ended up destitute and committed suicide by jumping off a building one late night. And so, I returned to my family with my daughter. My brother also married a powerful, compatible woman from a prominent family. At the end of the side story, our whole family took a family photo. But the dream didn't end there. This tool to highlight my excellent brother. Went out for a walk with my daughter one day and surprisingly met Chen Kuang again. He was impeccably dressed in a suit and froze when he saw me. I was alone. Holding my child. Dressed in designer clothes. But my eyes were filled with fatigue and numbness from emotional wounds and frequent overeating and indulgence. Jiao Jiao? He seemed to disbelieve who he was seeing. I forced a smile. Long time no see. Chen Kuang. How are you? You look like you're doing well. My daughter didn't recognize the strange uncle and cried out of shyness. I quickly went to comfort her. Chen Kuang's eyes were complex, puzzled, pained, and seemingly filled with regret. You're married? Divorced, I said, forcing a smile. Her dad was a jerk. Luckily, he's dead now. Chen Kuang was speechless for a moment. Mr. Chen. A young man walked towards Chen Kuang. Mr. Chen. Manager Zhang and the others are all here. It's time for the meeting. You're busy, I said, about to leave with my daughter. But Chen Kuang stopped me. Jiao Jiao. This is my business card. You can contact me if you need anything. I didn't look at his business card. Nor did I take it. I only left with a dismissive no need. And hailed a taxi to leave. The last scene was me sobbing in the taxi. As I cried. My daughter, surprisingly, stopped crying. I woke up from the dream, drenched in a cold sweat. My intuition told me that this wasn't just a dream. It had definitely happened. My phone vibrated. It was Mom calling. I composed myself and answered. Mom's cheerful voice was a relief. Honey, have you booked your flight yet? Can you really make it to Paris for Mom's fashion show the day after tomorrow? Since my brother and I both started college, Mom, with my encouragement, had also rekindled her dream and launched her own fashion brand. Now, she was even holding a fashion show. I laughed. Don't worry. I bought the ticket. Then remember to bring your boyfriend. Mother dear. I was talking business on my birthday yesterday. Where am I supposed to find a boyfriend? Where are you supposed to find one? Where do you think? She retorted. Chen Kuang is great. Your dad and I both think he's good. He's done so well after taking over your position at Starry Sky. And he's humble and polite. And you two get along well in business. You should hurry up and snag him. Here we go again. I thought. Mom. I have a meeting soon. I'm hanging up. Hey. Wait. I quickly hung up. Just then, the doorbell rang again. I dragged my tired limbs to look at the screen. Outside was Chen Kuang. I must be dreaming. I blinked and looked again. Hey. It really was him. Wasn't he on a business trip in the US? MS. Fu. Chen Kuang held up a gift bag. His smile captivating. I'm here to give you belated birthday wishes.